Dingo month again! Didn't I just do that stupid Prince of Egypt ripoff 12 months ago? Man, why does a year have to be so short? Yeah, that's right. We're going back to the scourge of every bargain bin in European game stores. Dingo Pictures and Midas Interactive are well known for their projectile vomiting of filth across generations of gaming consoles. Lucky us. You know, my shelves back here are just chock full of shovelware shit. But even I have my limits. Since I started reviewing Dingo movies, I have learned that the company's founders, Ickard and Haas, have both passed away. The studio published its last movie in 2004, and the website was finally and mercifully shut down in early 2021. This would almost be sad if the whole company wasn't so damned mysterious. Well, I guess the best eulogy I could give for Dingo Pictures is to riff on one of their most notorious copy and paste movies out there, Goldie. It's the story of a young mother deer who is just thrilled at the chance to jump in front of a drunken hunter's rifle as she finds out she's starring in this shit fest. As a consolation, this is one of their shortest stories, but the mental scars and the torture are going to feel like they last a lifetime. I guess if Dingo's going to plagiarize something, they might as well go all the way with it. Subtlety be damned.
There was an excited silence in the magic forest. All the animals, trees and flowers seemed to hold their breath.
Except Wooshel. That fucker could never shut up after his near-death experience.
Wooshel tried to move a branch, but the pain that shot through him was so bad that everything went black. Wooshel passed out because of the pain.
When will it happen? The mouse squeaked, shyer than before. Shh, the old tree said in a domineering way.
Is there really any difference between animals and trees and Dingo animation? I mean, they both have the same walk cycle.
Well, let the bird have a look. The bird was happy to be able to do something and flew away.
This is probably the last known video of that bird, which is a far better fate than staying in any Dingo cartoon.
Full of suspense.
Behold, now lettest thy servant depart in peace, for thine eyes have seen the damnation which Dingo has prepared for the face of all people. Well, I mean, that bit is up there with Mouse Police.
Has it already got a name? May we visit it? Just go, said the old tree. Send it my regards and tell it that I am waiting for its visit.
I know I just made a biblical reference a joke or two ago, but the birth of a fawn is not the coming of Forest Jesus.
Full of pride, Mother was watching her baby.
This scaling is breaking my brain.
The father was looking at the kid with benevolence too. Suddenly his ears rose. I think there are visitors.
Flicking ears are too tough to animate? Fuck it!
How lovely, the animals were whispering to each other. This is the prettiest little kid that was ever born in the magic forest.
That remark just landed you on a couple watch lists, Thumper.
What's its name? Said Mummel the hare. We don't know yet, said the father. We haven't had any time to think about its name.
Dear pregnancy lasts 7 months and you don't have a name for your kid? Dear Lord, you have no predators in the forest and you just prance around the woods, but didn't even take the time for 5 minutes to think, hey, maybe we should come up with a name for the kid. Man, I hope there's a speeding semi in your future.
The deer laughed. Haven't you said that the kid is golden? Goldie is the right name for my little daughter. Goldie's a nice name.
Yeah, if the fucking deer wasn't brown. I guess turd burglar is too obvious.
Wooshel swore to take care of Goldie everywhere and never leave her alone.
I think I found a shot Dingo is too embarrassed to reuse. I've never seen this shot anywhere else. That is a feat of which I never thought I would witness.
Soon Goldie learned to jump and run.
Not pictured here, some assembly required restrictions may apply, not available in all states.
They were happy about the visit of the two friends and liked Goldie more and more because she was always friendly and cheerful.
After eating one of those mushrooms, I'm sure as hell certain you're going to become super friendly, and then you're going to start seeing Italian plumbers and pissed off turtles.
When the friends had rollicked about enough, they went to the old trees. They lay down under the branches and listened to the old stories.
Scene here, talking to branches.
Therefore they could talk about times when the wild bears and buffaloes were still alive.
Have I ever told you how great the directors of photography are over at Dingo Pictures? Because I bet a pack of 5-year-olds who are hopped up on freshly snorted pixie sticks could do a better job.
The human beings could be dangerous. On Sunday afternoons, they invaded the forest in big groups and could disturb the silence of the animals.
Damn those beer-swilling hunters and their dubstep.
Hunters came into the forest and would kill the animals with their guns, yes.
Yes.
Goldie had never seen a man before. She could not quite believe the stories told by the trees. Every day, Goldie and Bushel played in the meadow. It was nearly summer, and everywhere it was blooming in the most beautiful colors.
Yeah, the 4 shades of green. Dark, decaying, vomit, and the ever-present Kale Custom Crap Attack.
One of the bees she found particularly pretty and tried to nudge her with her nose again and again.
Jesus, did that thing come out of the mist?
The bee enjoyed this very much and played tag with Goldie.
Every time I played tag with the bee, I ended up getting stung.
Bushel shouted, but it was already too late. Goldie had fallen into the pond. She was rowing her legs heftily.
Well, that was almost dynamic.
When Goldie stopped kicking around, she noticed that her legs were on solid ground. She quickly jumped out of the... Bushel laughed his head off.
Maybe he laughed his balls off.
Goldie was sulking, but not for long. The day was much too pretty to feel offended.
How did Dingo Google Translate before Google Translate?
In the evening, Goldie and Bushel ran home tiredly.
Here, let me illustrate this better.
In the evening, Goldie and Bushel ran home tiredly. Goldie's mother usually waited at the edge of the protected plantation area for the two friends. But today, nobody was to be seen. Full of unrest, both of them were looking around.
Oh, shit. How is Dingo going to explain death to kids? I bet it's going to be tasteful.
They asked all the animals whether they had seen Goldie's mother, but nobody knew anything.
Why does my uncle get to jump into a pile of money and I don't? Holy mother of Mary Tyler Moore! Dingo is cloning birds!
After many hours of unsuccessful searching, they sat down in a meadow and were utterly depressed.
I bet is not as depressed as I am watching this.
Yet, and nobody has seen her. We already asked all the animals in the forest. Oh dear, Myrtle was terrified. That sounds bad. Do you know anything? Have you seen anything? Well, I hope I'm wrong, but I'm afraid I'm right, Myrtle said. Yesterday about lunchtime, I was lolloping along with my children in the meadow over there.
Is that even a fucking word? Well, I'll be beaten senseless by 1,000 slaps by Gandhi. It is!
Big shadows were falling on the grass. Myrtle became very quiet. They were men. Men? Goldie shouted, horrified.
Why does Dingo have a horror stinger?
Myrtle would have liked to comfort Goldie.
Well, holy fuck, we're breaking the budget with this crying animation here. I guess you better milk it for all it's worth.
Let's go to the trees. They've seen so much. Perhaps they know what may have happened.
That just makes no fucking sense. I mean, it's just bullshit. Fuck. Oh, my.
She sat in the meadow without saying a word. The other animals missed her laughing and rollicking, and after a while they also became more and more sad.
Oh, great. Just because your mother went out carousing with the locals, now Discount Bambi will be sulking through the forest giving everyone clinical depression.
Even the birds twittered only little messages to one another.
Isn't that what Twitter does normally?
The sun did not shine so brightly anymore, for it had become darker and darker in the forest.
Yes, Grumpy Bear is the cure for any problem that you have, so long as that problem is living.
He looked around in amazement. Was this really the forest that he had known as a young bear?
Whatever age-defying things he's using, I want some.
"Hi, old tree," he said. "What has happened here? Why do you all keep your heads down?"
Grumpy Bear is cheerful? The world must be ending.
If you're not allowed to speak loudly anymore, you're in a bad situation. Now tell me immediately. There is always some way to help. "Not in this case," said the tree. "Listen.
The dingo checks bounced and now we're homeless. How can a tree in the woods be homeless?
And the old tree told the bear the story of Goldie and the disappearance of her mother. The bear listened full of interest.
Jesus, my students feign interest better than that.
Goldie's mother had a white spot on her right front leg. That is something very special.
And a gaping gunshot wound in her chest.
"Seen Goldie's mother," said the bear. "You've seen her? Is she alive?" the tree called. "She's alive!" The bird sitting on the branches of the old tree shouted. He had heard everything and rose in the air and shouted, "She lives! She lives!"
So a dopey bear sees a deer and everybody in the forest appears to lose their shit. Forget Goldie. Her mother's apparently the forest Jesus.
The animals looked up in horror. "Have you heard? The bird said she lives." As there were so many whispering, the whispering became louder and louder. In the end, there was a rustling through the magic forest. "She lives! Goldie's mother lives!"
Okay, two things here. One, Armin Drogat almost put in some effort into that last line read. Good for you! Second, until we can verify any of this, it's still considered fake news for all we know.
Sadly heard this as well. "She lives!" She could hardly believe it. "The bear's seen your mother. She lives!" the bird shouted excitedly. Goldie jumped up.
Deer jumping is forbidden in the dingo forest.
Goldie ran away with long jumps. "Stop! Not so quickly!" Vushel shouted and was hopping behind her.
I hope his heart explodes.
Where have you seen my mother?" she called as she arrived by the old trees. "That is a sad and long story," the bear said.
Oh, fuck! I knew it! And even if I cared, I still wouldn't grab tissues at this point.
"Many thousands of animals are killed by the people." They all shouted in horror, but not always. "Sometimes we're just caught and locked up by the human beings."
I love how Dingo always goes for the blunt approach.
"Something strange will happen. Every day many people turn up and look through the fence. We are never unwatched. There's absolutely no place we can go and hide ourselves from the looks of man."
You know, I've had nightmares like that. Except mine, I'm usually back in high school and naked and the toilets are overflowing for some reason.
Often the people bring along drinks and food, and then they throw the empty tins and bottles behind the fence. "Where the animals are?" Vushel asked. "Exactly there," the bear said. "And often the animals injure themselves on pieces of glass or tins."
My cousin Fozzie gets it the worst, but he's just trying to be entertaining.
"Is she injured?" Goldie asked in horror. "I don't think so, but she's ill.
Like the Beastie Boys?
Cars make a horrible noise and pollute the air. And the animals must breathe this polluted air all day long. And that's why Goldie's mother coughs all the time and has become ill."
She's in a cage! She's not sucking down the exhaust pipe of every car that comes through! How in the hell is she getting sick?
Even the trees started crying.
I failed the audition for Kirby's Adventure.
"The fence is much too high to jump over it." "That's true, it is too high. But how do you know that that's the only way over the fence? Perhaps there may be a way under the fence."
I don't know if I'm ready for a Dingo animated jailbreak.
"Then off we go," the bear said. The animals started to move.
Yep, onward Christian soldiers.
Stop, ordered the bear.
In the name of love.
The animals hid behind a high hedge. At last it became quiet. The last car took off. Let's go.
A midnight jailbreak in broad daylight. Perfect, Dingo.
Cautiously, they all moved to the enclosure. It was a sad sight they saw.
You're telling me this cartoon's only 20 minutes and I already feel like gouging out my eyes, setting them on fire, and burying them.
Tired animals stood on little pieces of earth, and they all looked very ill.
Come on, ladies. Mating season just started, and I'm ready for round 8. Let's go, let's go!
Mom! Very slowly, Mother Deer turned around her head. Goldie?
Well, looks like Mommy's little fake death vacation is over.
We want to free all of you, Whistle said proudly. And we also know how to do it.
Just once I want to get pegged.
All gone, Goldie's mother asked. Don't you hear anything? Goldie asked. Mother Deer raised her ears so she could hear it herself. Nibbling and scratching.
I never saw somebody puke popcorn before.
The hare, the squirrel, the mice, and the rest of the animals were nibbling busily at the...
Stop! Jeez, crow, that looks painful. I'd rather watch somebody with a mouthful of fillings chew on tinfoil.
They worked hour by hour. That should be enough now, Mumu said at last. If you can make yourselves very small, you can slip through the fence.
Come on, this is Dingo. Don't ask for miracles.
Who will be first? The bear asked. I'm sure it will work. Goldie's mother made herself as small as she could, and she was at last able to slip through the fence.
I can almost hear the Amiga computer going into overdrive while animating this.
Animals cheered.
Stop it. Get some help.
We can celebrate this later, but first of all, the others have to get out of there.
We can't animate that because the computers would melt.
And away from here as quickly as possible. It's already getting bright, and soon the first people will turn up here.
Yep, clean getaway.
Often they had to take a rest, because some of the animals were injured and very weak.
Well, I wasn't expecting to see Grumpy Bear wearing another fursuit, but there you go.
They're coming! The bird shouted. Under the old trees, they came together for a great festival.
Yeah, that looks like a knee-slapping good time.
He was happy and cheerful in the magic forest again. And also the sunbeams were dancing, full of joy on the leaves of the bushes and the trees.
Well, somebody got back on the happy pills. And we end with walking. Just like it was Mouse Police. It's no secret that Dingo animation is just terrible. And this one is no exception. I mean, the only saving grace this movie has going for it is the fact that it's less than 20 minutes. But that does not discount the fact that it is still intolerable and torturous. Holy cow. On the other hand, this is easily one of Dingo's most notorious copy and paste jobs ever. This looks like they literally traced off a TV screen. That's how blatant the ripping off looks. But in the grand scheme of Dingo pictures, it's not the best, and it's not the worst. It's just kind of in there in the middle, doing whatever it does in the middle, other than just obviously looking like Bambi. It's forgettable. Although I never will forget it. I do it for you. Remember that. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go do an impersonation of a bear shitting in the woods. The only problem? I don't have a rabbit to wipe my ass with. For the bare necessities, necessities. for 5 minutes to think about a name?